Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Thursday night, the 29th of July, and a very busy Thursday night indeed, especially over the state of New Jersey, where you're looking at the Fort Dix radar from a little bit earlier tonight, about half an hour ago, as we had several tornado warnings that popped up as that very strong cell developed in eastern Pennsylvania, south of Allentown. Just kept getting stronger as it moved eastward, and we had multiple tornado warnings that were issued with that, all part of a larger tornado watch that was up for today. So we have a very busy night ahead with respect to going over all the severe weather. So let's just do a little business quick off the top here. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, for the best prices in town on hardware, mulch, yard supplies, or anything else you need to make your house look great. 631-756-1125, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. And Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York, also on Long Island. 631-957-5106. Whether you want your home decorated this holiday season, or maybe you want to be a decorator for this holiday season as a business, give them a call or go to their website, liholidaylighting.com. So Trenton, New Jersey, Joe, seems to be where all the action was tonight with respect to severe weather, with a series of tornado warnings from a cell coming out of eastern Pennsylvania, south of Allentown. And last look at the radar, looks like it continues to move along to the east. And there have been a couple of other severe thunderstorm warnings that have been up. I'm going to bring that local radar up for you right now. But on the whole, certainly if you were north of the enhanced risk area that SPC put up, there really hasn't been too much with respect to thunderstorm activity.
Right. What we have had here in the lower end of Putnam County is that we've had a few showers. Really, no sign of any lightning or thunder, but it hasn't been all that difficult to take. But you're absolutely right. South and west of New York City, that's where all the action is. And my eyes did a double take when I saw enhanced on the Storm Prediction Center's map for today, because you don't often see that in this part of the country. But they certainly hit the nail on the head. The activity really has been very robust, if not downright severe, especially as you mentioned, Joe, right around the Trenton, New Jersey area.
Right. It looks like, at least on the radar, as of on the last frame here, is from 2316. So it's about 17 minutes old. And we had the tornado warning going up, it looks like, for parts of Ocean County and also for southern Monmouth County. You know what? I think at this point, why don't we go to Tornado HQ? That's probably going to give us the best view of this as far as the what warnings are still up, so we can get something updated. So we still have one tornado warning that seems to be in play here. So let me take a look at this. And it has 11 minutes to go, so this is going to expire. It was issued at 7:18, so it expires 11 minutes from now. So we're looking at an expiration roughly at around 7:40, 42, 43, I guess. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Twin Rivers, or 15 miles east of Trenton now, moving east at 15. So the warning counties are Mercer, Middlesex, Monmouth, and Ocean counties. Now, this is the same complex that from earlier we had a tornado warning up for Burlington in Burlington County, New Jersey, and Bucks and Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. So here's the look on Tornado HQ, so you can kind of see the track of this. This was, again, at 7:18, so it's the full warning. Let's read the full warning text. So it was at 7:18, and this is going to expire. I'm trying to see where the expiration time. 7:45. I'm sorry, 7:45. So it's got another 10 minutes to go. So it's still in play and we'll see what happens, whether they pick it up again or not. And
And I think we have to give everybody who voted last night tornado watch or thunderstorm watch. All of you who went with tornado watch, give yourself a pat on the back, because that's exactly what is out there. Or again, the actual, you look at the plot of the aviation box. This is the box that, going all the way back, Joe, to the very beginning of my career, I took into account as the zone where a specific watch is occurring. It's interesting to me, though, that the Storm Prediction Center, draws out this box, which again is for all intents and purposes south and southwest of New York City, and yet they have counties that are outside of the box, to the north of the box northern zone, almost literally reaching into New York. They include Sussex County, New Jersey, and Sussex County is so far out of this as far as all the activity is concerned, and yet they're part of this tornado watch area until 9 o'clock tonight. But really, if you look at the Storm Prediction Center maps and read their statements off of their website, you go to aviation and look for where the parallelogram or the box happens to be, and that's what you should concentrate on, not necessarily on counties that are either just north or south of the box. That area within that box is where it's all happening right now. And indeed, Trenton and Ocean County.
I just put it up on. It's up on the aviation box is up on the screen.
Right, and you remember, I'm sure you did, and I did, and even my wife when we would work together at a private forecasting service. That's what we did. We plotted out where the box is. We didn't try to guess. I mean, the old saying went, places in and near the zone of the projected watch area, and I guess you could say, places outside of the box should watch too. But specifically, you should look for the places that are within that zone, that parallelogram, if you will, or rectangle, and that is where all of the action is cooking right now.
Yeah, I brought up so everybody can see what it looks like. So you on that menu across the top where you see public, counties, probabilities, aviation is the box you want to go for. And as Joe points out, when you read the actual forecast statement, it'll tell you. It'll say 50 miles or 60 miles, however many miles either side of a line, and then they kind of, they'll pick two geography points, and sometimes it might be a little hard to find those geography points, but eventually you get them. And there's the box. You're right. The box is a lot more effective. I'm not so sure why they do this county thing where it doesn't look different. I mean, I would think it would be easy enough to do a box that fits all those counties, but why have the ones on either side? I'm a little confused as to why they do it this way.
See, what we used to do at the weather office where I used to work, we plot the box, and then we'd look at it, and then if we had a radio station, that's what we basically did this especially for. If the radio station was inside of the box, we would call the station up and say, we got to do a special report because you're in a tornado watch zone. But let's say if I had a radio station somewhere in Sussex County, New Jersey, I never would have called the station. The forecast itself would stand alone and say there's a chance for some strong to severe weather. But we wouldn't call them to tell them about the tornado watch, because we'd say, well, you're not in it. Well, actually, where the box is, they aren't in it. But still, there are cases where, as we can see here, north of the box, in places like Sussex County in northwestern New Jersey, they're in that tornado watch area, even though we plainly see when we look at the radar that they are nowhere near severe conditions. It is all happening, again, inside of the box to the south, Trenton, Ocean County, places down towards South Jersey. That is where it's all happening. It's not up in the northwestern corner of New Jersey, but nonetheless, they are in the zone tornado watch too. So
All
what are
right.
you going to do?
Well, in about 5 minutes, we'll probably see what the Weather Service does with this and what it looks like on the radar. Because Izzy D is asking, should does the tornado, if there's a tornado, does it move toward Lakewood, New Jersey? Well, I don't know whether it does or doesn't. I would just say that the warning, if it gets extended, is probably going to get extended further east, covering southern Monmouth, northern Ocean County. That's probably my best guess at this point. But it's it's tough to say. I don't have the tools in front of me. It's not like I'm spinning the Doppler radar on my own because I'm not. And so they're going to see whether this cell is still capable of producing a tornado or not. Here it is on the wide view. Now this also, I'm going to update this. And while it's doing that, let me just acknowledge Robert Russo and the chairman hitting super chat tonight. I'm having a tough time seeing who the super chat hits are. So, but that's who I think. I know I saw Roberts before. I think the other one was from the chairman. So thank you so much, both of you, for doing that. All right. So meanwhile, here's the new radar, Joe. We should also, by the way. These storms are moving pretty slowly. So there are 3 flash flood warnings up across central New Jersey. So there's the tornado is a big deal, but obviously. But we do also have now a 4th flash flood warning, I should say, has popped up. So we got 1 in northeastern New Jersey, 1 in northwest New Jersey, 2 across I-195 in New Jersey. And then there's a severe thunderstorm warning that's under to the south of the tornado warning. So it's kind of busy here from what we're seeing. Also, don't want to ignore the fact that we have a severe thunderstorm watch up south of where the tornado watch is, and that covers Delaware, Maryland, and into Virginia, back through West Virginia and Ohio. But you're seeing that the southern part of the line on the radar is not nearly as impressive. There are a couple of scattered severe thunderstorm warnings here and there, but the southern part of this line is not nearly as impressive as what the northern part produced during this afternoon across Pennsylvania and over into New Jersey. And of course, on Long Island, where thunderstorms go to die, at least for the time being, it seems to be the case here because there's kind of a split here, Joe. You got these storms that are running off the New Jersey coast and through central New Jersey. And then there's a big gap to the north, and then there's some other showers and storms north of I-90 in upstate New York and moving through southern Vermont and New Hampshire. And then there's this big gap in between. And this goes, again, back to what I've said over the last couple of days when it comes to forecasting these things. It's kind of like in the wintertime. There's always somebody's always in the snow screw zone. Well, it sort of works the same way here with these thunderstorms, although I would say that it's probably a good thing if you don't get them because you don't want any kind of destruction that goes with them. Snow you can handle because snow melts. But once again, you look at the risk, you assess the risk, and then you just wait for the radar to tell you what's going to happen because the short-range models are not going to, they almost never do a good job in depicting where the thunderstorms are going to be.
Yeah, and if you look at the radar, Joe, you can see that there is a thin, skinny line that stretches across western and central New York State. And I do believe that's probably the actual cold front that's going to come on through here over the course of the night tonight and really put the dew points down, knock it down really rapidly behind it. That front is not expected to pass on through. Actually, it looks like it's going to merge with the other front that is right now, coming in and through our area. So, but that second line, thin, skinny line coming through central New York right now, does not look like there's anything severe with that, but still some showers and scattered storms for places like, for example, Binghamton, I'm sure will have a shot at them, and Elmira, that area. Now, you're I guess you're highlighting that there, right? With your red pen. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that looks like cold front number 2, and that's the one that's going to again drop the dew point significantly late tonight or first thing in the morning tomorrow.
Yeah. Good question by Keith James II. He says, are tornado rotations being detected more so with better radars in 2021, causing the tornado alerts to be issued? Well, I got to think that the answer to that is probably yes, because I'm just thinking back to back in our day and maybe through the 80s and 90s, the tornado warnings were relatively rare things. So the Doppler, the bringing on of the Doppler technology does allow for tornado warnings. If you notice, sometimes the tornado warnings are issued not because a tornado was sighted, but you'll read on the statement, it'll say that a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, and they put up a tornado warning for that. I don't know what the ratio is in terms of how many times those warnings go up and how many actual tornadoes wind up verifying out of those warnings. I would just say that it's probably a good better the safe than sorry type measure to go ahead with the warning, because if you don't put up the warning and you wind up having one, that opens up a whole another can of worms, and I think they probably would prefer to err on the side of caution with these things.
Starting on Monday, by the way, Joe, the National Weather Service is going to better convey the potential severity and potential impacts from thunderstorm winds and hail by adding a damage threat tag to severe thunderstorm warnings. In other words, they're going to headline these warnings with new destructive severe thunderstorm warning category, which will trigger wireless emergency alerts on mobile phones. So if you have a mobile phone, and who doesn't, and you carry it around with you night and day, and who doesn't do that either, when there is a potential threat for really severe weather, destructive weather, you'll probably get a warning on your phone with that. And I don't even know if it'll go off with
Oh, good Lord.
Some strange high pitched sound or whatever. That's happened with me. I'm driving along my car and everything else, and all of a sudden I hear this. What the hell is that? So that's what we can anticipate beginning August 2nd, this coming Monday.
I haven't had a whole lot of time to really think about that, by the way. We're back. I put us back up full screen. Just noticing that tornado warning expired 2 minutes ago. I don't see a new warning out yet from Mount Holly. So I don't know. I kind of sort of glazed over the actual announcement about this, but I haven't really had much. I haven't really sat down and thought about whether how I feel about this. Have you thought about how you feel about this?
You mean, on top of everything else that they've already thrown at us I don't want to say scare us, but I mean, they have so many things going on right now on our phones and on TV and on radio and everything else. It isn't enough now they have to actually use the word destructive maybe to get your attention. Maybe there's some people out there saying, well, it's another one of those thunderstorm warnings. No, it's not. It's potentially a destructive storm, and you must listen to this. It can really drive you crazy. In fact, tonight, Ron and I were waiting for Jeopardy, as we always do at 7:00, and Lee Goldberg came on instead, and he actually had to apologize. He said, "We're going to get you to Jeopardy. We're going to get it to you as soon as possible. But first, I have to tell you about this potential tornadic threat." And he spent the next 2 minutes, telling everybody about it. And it kind of reminded me of a similar thing that happened a few weeks ago in Pennsylvania, where they actually broke into a prime time. No, it was the Bachelorette. The meteorologists covering that area broke in and spent a few minutes telling everybody about a tornado that was heading in their direction. And immediately the phone lines at the ABC affiliate lit up, getting very upset because why is he doing this? Because we're missing a very crucial point.
I don't think. Listen,
you can see where the viewers are.
I don't think that there is any TV meteorologist that works across the South that hasn't been seriously threatened with his life if they have broken into an SEC football game.
Right.
Okay, so I mean, this is sort of commonplace here, and actually, it really isn't. It isn't just in the South, because I mean, I had stuff like that happen to me, when I worked in other places outside of the South. So, but it shows you where some people's heads are at. I mean, I don't know. The TV people that are breaking in are just doing what their bosses tell them to do. I'm sure if they had a choice, I know their hearts would drive them to want them to warn people. But I'm sure if you're given the choice, saying, you know what, if you don't do it, if you don't do it, you're not going to get phone calls with people threatening you with your life. You just as soon probably stand aside and just not do it. I don't know. I find it incredible that some people would actually get that upset. Especially because some of these storms have killed people, for God's sake. I mean,
Right.
I would think that's a little more important to save someone's life than you losing about 5 seconds of or 10 seconds or 20 seconds of a football game.
Exactly.
It's a sick world
Funny
we live
thing
in.
Izzy D on the chat board said, Joe Rayo, by the way, I heard that radio station where you used to work, and I'm assuming I know he's alluding to WOBM in Toms River, New Jersey. He said, I tuned to 92.7, and they were playing the NOAA weather radio alert. I don't think I've ever heard that in New Jersey before. And the funny thing about that is that when Lee Goldberg came on with his couple of minutes of warning everybody in Ocean County about this tornado, a warning that has just been posted, I was on the couch and I turned to Renata, who was on nearby in the same room, and I said, you want to call WOBM about this, or do you want me to do it? But now I guess, according to Izzy D, I don't even know you actually, and Alan Casper used to do OBM as well, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those things, I don't even know now if they have a meteorologist doing the weather for that station, and maybe this is their way of covering themselves. They just click over to 162.55 or NOAA Weather Radio, and they play the statement from NOAA Weather Radio, or they interrupt their music with this kind of information. So that's funny.
Izzy D on hitting Super Chat. Thank you, sir. Very much. Most appreciated. By the way, if you do go to Tornado HQ, just to show everybody, one nice thing is that if you somehow missed all of this and you want to go back, when UCAR had the radars, you could actually build the loops to go back for many hours. But unfortunately, as soon as Joe and I started using the UCAR radars, they disappeared. But if you go to Tornado HQ, at least if you look closely, I think you should be able to see this on the screen at home. The old expired tornado warnings are grayed out, but you can actually go inside any of these warnings here, starting from when the cell was back between Allentown and Bethlehem in Pennsylvania, and pull up the initial tornado warning. And this was back at 4:56 p.m. So assuming this is the same, this is either the same cell or the same tornado or possible tornado. You can sort of follow the track of that, and certainly follow the track of the cell going from Allentown all the way east, almost into Western Ocean and Western Monmouth counties. This thing actually, Joe, at least the thunderstorms that were responsible for this, they traveled quite a distance here.
Right. In fact, I don't even know what they call this anymore, Joe. I grew up. I started my career. Whenever you see a cluster of these severe cells moving rapidly, I used to refer to it as a mesoscale convection complex, an MCC. Now they have a totally new way of referring to that. They don't call them MCCs anymore, and I don't even know off the top of my head what I was reading in one of the statements late last night, but they said we're going to follow this, and that's going to be the area that's going to cause possible severe weather problems for eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey. So they've been following this area, this zone of active weather for many hundreds of miles, and for many, many hours. And now it has finally reached the point where it is moving off of the Jersey coast. And incidentally, also, Tim Beltman is asking us,
Yeah,
severe
I got the
thunderstorm warning.
radar. I'm pulling up the radar there. There's actually, I don't see a warning here on tornado. Oh, because it's a, hold on, let me switch pages. Because this is a severe thunderstorm warning, so it's going to be on a different tornado HQ page.
I think he's questioning. I think he's questioning the fact that they say it's near Scotia, moving east at 85 miles per hour.
Yeah, that's a little much, don't you think?
Yeah.
But here's the cell that we're talking about here. I mean, that's a pretty big. They actually have a fairly large severe thunderstorm warning box that goes from northwest of Albany. And then on the other side of it, it's in the Vermont side, past Bennington. I mean, almost to Burlington, for God's sake. I mean, that's a pretty big severe thunderstorm warning box that they have up there. So let's see. Let me take a look at the loop. Let's see if I'll pull up the Albany loop. Radar space ENX. Yep, there it is. Thank you so much. I've pulled up these radars so often. Well, I mean, you look at this, Timothy. I don't know if it's 85 miles an hour. That seems to be, but this thing is actually clipping along, and it's also kind of interesting that this is not a criticism of SPC, because I think they really do a very good job considering everything they have to deal with, which is basically forecast this sort of stuff for the entire country, and oftentimes they do match up, those watch boxes match up pretty well. This was in the area of general thunderstorms, and so they weren't indicating any severe weather for upstate New York. So sometimes it does happen that you get in the general thunderstorm area that you can get a cell or a series of cells that fires up strong enough to generate a severe thunderstorm warning. But we do have that tonight between Glens Falls and Albany, and it seems to be moving right along there. That little snaky little line. That has formed. Those look like some hefty looking cells up there.
Indeed, and I'm a little concerned only because my daughter left this morning for Saratoga. I guess she's up in the Saratoga area, and she's probably seeing a lot of rock'em sock'em weather right now. She's up in that area. So
she's up there. Did she go up there for the horse racing?
I don't think so. I think she just, a bunch of her friends just say, well, we're going to go up to Saratoga. So,
well, if she does go to the track, tell her to bet Lolly C over Lucky George.
Okay. All right.
And there's always lettuce. You could won his last race by a head.
Oh, God. Please. Well, you know how you can say lettuce. You know how you say lettuce in Italian, right? Lettuce?
Lettucci. Oh, Jesus. Now that's terrible. That was terrible.
Yeah.
All right, let's run over to let's run over to the satellite loop here and looking at the blowups in the east. Looks like, Joe, the back edges here is close because once these storms move out, there's not much else going on other than that secondary line, which you can barely find on the satellite. That's how narrow it is. But I mean, I can see where it is. It's racing southeastward. And yeah, that's your dew point relief. Also, by the way, across the south and still across the Midwest and up in the plains, you'll notice that milky white, that's all the wildfire smoke, and that continues to be a problem here with regards to having it in our atmosphere on almost a daily basis. And meanwhile, if you look up north of Lake Superior, there's a little hole there that's been cut out because there's no smoke in that zone. It's a smoke-free zone.
Yeah, that's true.
Look at that. I mean, that's
true.
That's almost as bizarre as the donut. Remember the donut thing we saw on the satellite in the Southwest back a couple of weeks ago?
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Thomas Mozzarella, not mozzarella, Mozzarella, wants to know. Was matzah means stick, by the way? He says, does Central Park reach its take out the record for July for number one? I don't think. Well,
they were 1.4 inches away as of 1 a.m. last night. So they needed 1.4 to go all the way to the top. I'm not sure. I'm not going to say it's a pity, but if they really wanted to challenge that record, they should have been, Central Park should have been about 30 or 40 miles further to the south in the line of some of those severe storms. Then they easily probably would have gotten the required amount. I'm not sure if they've had
All right,
that much rain.
well, I'm going to take a look and see what we got. Meanwhile, before I do go specifically there, since I have the map up, it is a very colorful watches and warnings map, as we have heat advisories and also excessive heat warnings up for the lower and middle Mississippi Valley across the Gulf states. Not to me, though, Joe. I am not in a heat advisory. Do you know why? Because I got to 89 yesterday. I don't think we got, I still didn't, I don't think we broke 90. I got to check. But you can see where all the heat advisories are up in the southeast. What's left of the tornado watch in southeastern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, down into Delaware. The severe thunderstorm watch that was up for areas further south into northern Virginia, that's done. But we still have severe thunderstorm watches in southwest PA, down across southernmost Ohio. Air quality alerts in Minnesota and Iowa, and back over through Montana. Numerous flash flood watches again in the southwest, particularly in southwestern Arizona, and on up into southeastern California, and much of the state of Nevada, parts of Idaho, and parts of Oregon, all under flash flood watches. And you also have various heat advisories and excessive heat issues up again in the Pacific Northwest. So now let's check on New York City. Did they get any rain today? So we'll pull up an ob. You can see actually there's still a flash flood warning up for Bergen County. So they got some rain there, but I'm thinking they probably didn't get the inch and a half that they need. But let's look. So far on the weather history, so far today, Joe, 0.01 and then 0.43. The 6-hour rainfall ending at 7:51 Eastern time. So just about, this is almost in real time here. So they picked up a little less than half an inch. How much did you say they needed to get?
I think the 1.4 is what they need.
All right, so they got 0.43, so they need 0.98.
I don't think they're going to get it.
Okay, unless
they're probably going to fall short of that, just like they fell 1.4 inches short of 40 inches of snow, which got me very aggravated. But yeah. I don't know if you really would like to see or would like to either tie or break the all-time record for the wettest July. This July, the last time we had a July this wet was back in 1975. So it's been a long time, but here we are with a July with over 10 inches of rain. Ugh.
Crazy. By the way, along those lines, if you haven't answered the poll question tonight, then you need to answer the poll question. And so far we have 75 votes. And the question tonight is, does the trough in the eastern part of the U.S. continue for the month of August? We've seen it there through most of May and June and July. Does it continue for August? Joe, the folks on the chat board and those watching this show, 72% say yes, the trough in the east continues. 28% say no, the trough does not continue in the eastern part of the U.S.
Well, I voted yes. I said that it will continue, and it looks like Joe. I mean, case in point, we're going to see a nice northwesterly flow drop the dew points and bring in a lovely stretch of weather through a good part of the upcoming weekend. And then behind this, there are other systems that will be coming on through during the first half of first half of August. Where's my mind?
Yes.
And so I think it will, in one way, shape, or form, I think it will persist at least for a little while longer, taking us into at least part of August and probably most of August.
Yeah, WPC on the 7-day rainfall has actually substantial amounts of rain for southeastern Virginia and the eastern half of North and South Carolina, southern Georgia, the Florida Panhandle, and this is all due to the fact that we are going to see this front that comes through on Sunday stall out to our south and east, and the weather for the northern mid-Atlantic to southern New England is going to be determined by the positioning of that stall front and whether an upper trough that's going to be moving through on Sunday, how much of that lags or drops in behind in the Ohio Valley. We were talking about the potential maybe for a southerly flow for a while next week, so we're going to be taking a look at that. But the rainfall here after today, the next chance is going to be in the month of August, and that's Sunday when there might be a shower or thunderstorm. And this actually carries us through next Thursday. So if you look at WPC's outlook here and just kind of read into this, to me it suggests that they probably think the bulk of any precip is going to wind up staying south and east. So maybe that trough that lags behind gets suppressed a little bit, as some models were showing versus others, but we'll see. Seeing some beneficial rains up from West Texas, but particularly up through Colorado and Idaho, and continue to see substantial rainfall amounts of an inch or more over the next 7 days in the Southwest, and that's a plus. So alleviate some drought conditions there. Not much up in the northernmost plains and in the western lakes, and I don't really see anything here from what sometimes you can determine when we're looking at these maps this time of year from WPC, if there's some kind of tropical system involved, and there really isn't. What you're seeing off the southeast coast and off the mid-Atlantic coast, it has to do with a stalled frontal boundary. So here's the dew point relief. So get ready, folks. I got the NAM up here. Tomorrow morning on the NAM, the dew point at 8 a.m. is sitting at about 64.5 in New York City. By noontime, it's down in the 50s. And by the end of the day, it's down in the 40s. So you got a nice push of dry air that actually gets down almost into northernmost North Carolina by Saturday morning. So some nice relief. It should feel okay. Certainly Saturday looks fine. And the other thing, Joe, is I'm thinking for Sunday, even though we have this cold front and another upper trough coming through, there's not enough time here for the dew points to shoot up. So when we look at the dew points on Sunday, this dry air kind of holds on. So I'm thinking that if we get a shower or the potential for a shower or a thunderstorm, it's not going to be I don't think it's going to be any kind of widespread severe weather outbreak. I think it might be more along the lines of a scattered shower or a thunderstorm here and there. The dew points are going to get back up maybe close to 60. That's not, to me, unlike today when we had dew points that got up above 70. That's not going to happen on Sunday.
I don't think so either. It's not going to be. Well, we talked about this or touched upon this last night, how the next system, the next disturbance, the next frontal line moving in late Sunday, early Monday, just doesn't have the juicy air that we had today to help set off the thunderstorms and tornadic activity. So if we do get anything, there might be a rumble of thunder, there might be a couple of showers here and there, but it's not going to be anywhere near to compare with what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, now I'm looking at the GFS has been going back and forth with the trough lags. It doesn't lag, it moves along. Now it's back to not only lagging it, but trying to cut it off in Ohio, which goes back to what we had a day or two ago. And it sort of leaves it there. And we've got this southwest flow along the coast. So this is going to be problematic here if we wind up getting this type of upper air setup, because it's going to stall a front to our east and south. And you're going to get ripples of low pressure that are going to move along it. I'm going to look at the European on this to see what the European's been saying, because the European also has been kind of going. It's funny. The European, on the run that the European lags, the GFS moves it out, and on the runs that the European moves the whole trough out, the GFS does the opposite. But one thing that's consistent in both models, if you look at this by Tuesday, look how far south the trough. Here's your trough axis. Look how far south the upper air westerlies, Joe. They get all the way into the northeastern Gulf of Mexico. I mean, if this were if this were September the 3rd and you had this, I don't think that's not unusual. It's August 3rd. This is unusual. It's not unheard of because it does happen from time to time, but it is unusual to see such a deep trough in the east going all the way down with the westerlies in the upper atmosphere going all the way down into the Gulf states like this.
That is quite unusual. I mean, my goodness, let's say you lived in Shreveport, Louisiana, which wasn't too far from where you used to work, Joe, back in the distant past. But I mean, they don't see that kind of weather down that far south.
No.
But here it is. Here it is. It's amazing.
Yeah, the European kind of lags that trough back, and then it's almost gone, and then here comes another one. Look at this. On day 10, you got another plunging upper low coming down toward Lake Superior. It's one after another after another. It's amazing how the trough wants to just stay in the east. And I know the snow lover cynics out there are looking at this and saying that it's guaranteed that when we get to December, there's going to be a huge ridge in the east with a 576 height going all the way up to Plattsburgh. You know, it's almost a given when you think about it. It's like, why is this happening now?
I don't know, but Dennis Cassia, who's on the chat board and talking to Renata, saying hopefully this will all clear up in time for next weekend. Of course, I know Dennis especially because he has a hand in this, hoping that the weather will cooperate for not this weekend, but next weekend, the annual Stellafane Conference, which was canceled last year because of the pandemic. And that is basically a place in central Vermont near the town of Springfield, where they have interesting talks under a big tent during the day. In the evening, they have a major speaker who gives us an interesting sidelights about astronomy, but also at night, there are telescopes. It's kind of like a Woodstock with telescopes looking up in a relatively dark area at the stars or the planets. And when it's clear and when the weather cooperates, it's a wonderful place to be. But Dennis, I have to tell you what I told Renata before we had dinner tonight. I took a look at some of the long range maps, and as Joe was just suggesting, or saying, you just know that even though it's going to be lovely weather this weekend, this should have been the weekend that we should have had this thing in Vermont, because the weather is going to begin to trend back toward a more humid airflow mid and late next week, and unfortunately maybe a cloudier airflow and maybe even some showery conditions as well. So right now I'm not too high on great weather, and there's still lots of time for that to change between now and let's say a week from tomorrow. But for the moment, at least, it doesn't look like, Joe, that the weather. Unfortunately, it seems to me like that there's a big ridge that blows up right along the eastern seaboard.
Yeah.
Kind of a heat ridge.
Yeah.
And the flow in the northeast is more southwest than anything else, pushing all of that moisture or that higher level of humidity. You know what? I could almost see that maybe by, let's see, this is a week from Sunday, we might be talking about temperatures even up in New England, up near 90 with dew points near 70, and it doesn't look all that promising.
No, and you also have, by the way, during this week, we should point out, I mean, if you wind up with this stalled front off the East Coast and the trough the way it is, at least from the stand of the world that the GFS lives in, here comes one wave with rain, particularly along the coastal plain. I mean, there's a low that develops off the North Carolina coast and runs out to 40 and 70 come Tuesday night into Wednesday. And then that goes out. And here comes the next one, because the ridge in the Atlantic is building back westward. Rather than, progress out to the east, it's actually building back westward. So there's another wave that comes up toward the end of the week and brings widespread rain from Thursday into Friday, and even still has it along the coast of southern New England early Saturday morning before it finally pulls out. So, this is going to be a problematic week on a number of angles, given what we're seeing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, like like a conveyor belt, one shortwave trough after another coming through every few days and ushering in a new airflow. But then, as you just mentioned, Joe, next week, because the ridge kind of flexes its muscles out to out over the ocean, the next shortwave trough that's coming in bumps into that ridge, has no place to go, and as you just mentioned, kind of like just opens up and sits there and sets the stage for some warm and more humid conditions for the latter part of next week.
Yeah, just real quick in the tropics because nothing's really changed from yesterday. We talked about the fact that there's going to be this big upper low in the highest levels of the atmosphere, covering much of the subtropical Atlantic, which is going to create mostly hostile conditions for tropical cyclone development. And oftentimes, when it's doing that in the Atlantic, it means that the Pacific side is a little busier. And in fact, on the Eastern Pacific, we got the Hurricane Center outlining 3 areas in the next 5 days, and 2 of them in the red. One out at about between 10 and 15 north and between 110 and 120. A 90% probability that this will develop in the next 2 days and a 90% probability in the next 5. Conditions are conducive for development there. And then there's one ahead of that that's between 125 and 135 and between 10 and 15. And that is also a 60% probability in the next 48 hours and an 80% chance of developing in the next 5 days. So that usually is how it works when when the Atlantic can't do it because the upper air conditions are unfavorable. That usually means that in the Pacific side, that upper air conditions there are mostly favorable. It's not often that you get both sides being very active at the same time. So we're back full screen. Let me just update a couple of super chats here. The chairman, Scott Briller, sending another super chat. Thank you, Scott. And the MRI normal on Mother Briller. No irregularities. Skating next year. You know what? Tell Mother Briller should actually. She's got an opening here. She can go to the 2022 Winter Olympics next year. Okay, so instead of we'll doing the skateboarding. She could get her ice skates ready so she could do maybe a couple of triple axels or triple sockhows out on the ice. So we wish her well. Right, Joe?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in fact, I even put on the chat board, this is back about 15 or 20 minutes ago, we wish Mom Briller or Mom Briller well.
Not to be confused with Bob Barker, by the way. So, from Batman.
Yes, from Batman.
Right. Exactly. So, let me see if I know I have a Briller Jeopardy here somewhere. Just give me a second as Facebook is not cooperating here. So, let's take a look.
And if my wife is still on the chat board, I saw her a few moments ago, whatever. The chairman is asking whether or not you will be available on Sunday for Briller Cooking Jeopardy. So, not only kicking off a cooking Jeopardy for the new month, but I think I made this note, Joe, that whenever a month begins on Sunday, we inevitably will have a Friday the 13th, and we will have that in August.
Right. Daniel Fitzsimmons, before we get to Briller Jeopardy, Daniel Fitzsimmons brings up an interesting question asking about why NOAA radio doesn't come in well, and they're always looking for equipment. Every time that thing breaks, it takes weeks for them to get whatever equipment they need to get it fixed. But the more important question that Daniel asks is, why doesn't NOAA have an official weather app? And the reason why they don't have the Weather Service doesn't have apps is that they actually made a policy decision regarding that years ago, and they haven't changed it. And they decided that they would be the disseminator of information and let the private sector be the folks that took that information and build it into apps and get and disseminate it out to the public. They thought that was, and it probably to a large extent, I think it was a successful strategy decision, because it allows the information. A lot of people that are interested in weather and it is part of their business, built apps in order to get that information out there. So probably more people will have weather apps. I think if the Weather Service had built the apps themselves, they would have kept the information for themselves, and I don't know whether that would have been a smart thing to do if your goal is to get weather information out there. And NOAA has been really great about, although we always talk about how much wonderful stuff that they have available for free on their websites. For a weather enthusiast, it's just an absolute party. And you know how good it is because, as I have said many times, if you go look at some of the weather websites from other countries, very little is put on. Thank you, Johnny Quest, for removing that person who just was putting up that. It's amazing to me, Joe. I don't know if you can see it. I saw it, and I'm not gonna, not to repeat it, but you're a sad. You really are a sad spectacle of a human being. You really ought to get some therapy. Okay, really get some serious help for yourself. If all you think it's all you have to do is go on YouTube shows and put up truly despicable things. Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry. Let's go on. Hang on.
I live in an interesting area, Joe, because where I live, and I have a weather radio here, the signal almost is equal between New York and Albany. I could switch to 162.55 and get KW035 for the New York zones, and I am in a New York zone. Putnam County at one time, many, many years ago, was zone 13 for Albany. But then Albany, I guess they decided, all right, let's hand it off to New York. They're better to be in the New York area as opposed to having us do it. So they did, and I can switch to that, or I can switch to 162.475 and hear the Albany station and hear their lowdown as to what they expect. I'm kind of like in between both New York and Albany. And so it's interesting to see sometimes what Albany thinks versus what New York thinks.
By the way, Greg Carriga just sent me a Twitter link. I'm gonna from Het Money, the at symbol HATT money. Okay, is his handle, and a tornado had gone through Bensalem in Pennsylvania, and it's running there on the screen now. You should be able to see it momentarily. There was some damage here. That's some pretty interesting damage here, Joe. On this shot. Whoa, yeah, that's pretty serious. This tornado obviously was a real thing. This tornado was obviously a real thing here. Can you see it on the screen now?
I'm not. I haven't seen it yet. It hasn't popped up. I'm running a little behind, but
okay. But you'll see it here.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Oh boy.
Yeah,
Wow.
It starts off. I mean, it does. It looks. You see some damage, but then when the camera pans around, it really. It really goes crazy here. So apparently, by the way, we have apparently a bunch of trolls just like attacking this show. It's really sad, just very sad. Anyway,
It is.
all right.
Can I say what Bob Grant would say in a situation like this? We have, ladies and gentlemen, we have at least one, maybe several mutants on our chat board right now. And I personally think that those of you who are doing this to us right now, get off my chat board, you creep!
Right, exactly.
That should have taken care of them.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to Briller Jeopardy and wrap this up on a Thursday so we can take a couple of days off and the weather calms down. So we're going into the month of August, and so that means that we could take a look at some of the August weather extremes that we have. So let's take a look, starting with the highest temperature ever in the month of August within 2, Mr. Rayo.
Yeah, I'm sorry, John. I'm still looking at the I think I haven't seen anything since I started screaming. So maybe that did the trick. William Huber says it's actually just one troll.
Yeah, it is.
I don't.
And because that troll also sent me an email today. He sent me an email before the show, and I have his
Oh, he
actual.
doesn't.
I have the guy, and he's got his name in the email, so I actually know the person's name. But
Really?
yeah, so we're not
Well,
going to get.
but can't you report him or something?
I'll do something after. I'll do something after the show. But it's not. Joe, it isn't worth our time. Why do what? That's why I hesitate at times to bring this sort of stuff up. I know that some people have occasionally will ask about the two idiots. I think it's only down to one now. The one idiot that keeps hitting the dislike button on the show, on the video before the show even starts. And I think the best way to approach these things is to just pay absolutely no attention to them and just completely ignore it, except for the fact that this lowlife posted some really nasty things on there. Thank you for the moderators, by the way, Johnny Quest, the chairman, and others that are moderators on this show that caught it quickly and get rid of it. But the best. These are sad people. They really are sad people when you think about it. I mean, think about this, Joe. Here's a person who spent every day that we have done a live stream since last winter, okay? Since last winter, waiting for our show to post on YouTube just so that he could hit the dislike button. Almost 5 days a week, every week for what? The last 7 months? That's pathetic in my view. That's a sad, sick individual. Okay, and should be pitied. Okay, so we will no longer discuss this. So all done. Here are the extremes. Here's the question. So the highest temperature ever recorded in the month of August in New York City Central Park, within 2.
Well, aside from the 106 that we hit on July the 9th of 1936, there have been more than a few cases. The closest we've come ever since then is 104. I know we've done it a few times in July, so I'm just going to say 104 for the month of August as well.
So you're saying 104 is what you're telling me. You're 104.
104, yes.
104 is the correct answer. Now, if you can guess the year that 104 that had occurred, you would be truly a man of brilliance.
Oh, well, I could say 1936, which was the year we hit 106, and say it's a carryover from the previous month, but I won't say that.
No, you won't.
No, I won't. Could it be 1960? No, 1966. I would have remembered.
You might take that. You might take 19. You might take that 36 and cut it in half.
1918?
And that is the correct answer. Joe Rayo, it's amazing to me how you just come up with these things. And I don't really have to do anything to help you with that. It's just amazing. So what was the lowest temperature recorded in the month of August within 3 degrees? And when was the last year this was set?
You mean the lowest in terms of temperature?
Yes.
Or social.
Oh, social standing, Joe. Yes.
I remember I was in the Bronx, and it was it was in late August. It was in 1976. And I think Central Park got down. I know where I was. Our temperature in the Bronx, I was living in Bronx at the time, our temperature dropped to 49. But I would assume that Central Park was a little warmer, so I'll say like 52. I can't tell you what, it was maybe August 29th or August 30th or whatever, but I do remember it was in 1976.
Well, it may have been in 1976, but the last time this was set was in 1986, and the answer is 50. So you got the crux of that was once again another exercise in just sheer brilliance by Joe Rayo. It's astounding. Number 3, question 3. is what was the coldest daytime high in the month of August within 3? And what year did that occur?
So what you're asking is what is the minimum
High.
maximum minimum
Minimum
record minimum
maximum.
high
No, the minimum maximum.
minimum maximum.
Right.
I don't know what what possibly could it be? I remember there was one year when I was working at this private forecasting service, and the guy who was the president, he built a thermometer out of a heat kit, um, and we used to look at that for our quote official temperature. This was in Flushing, and one day it was like I said, if it got any colder, it'd be snowing. This was in August. I said I think it was something like I'm going to take a guess, like 50, 55.
Mm-hmm.
Is that was how does that sound?
Well, you have to be within 3. So yeah, Mr. Ray, even you and your genius, is it gets to miss one every once in a while. The answer actually is the answer is 59, and the last time it was set was 2007. And I'm sorry, I'm hesitating a little bit in this response because I'm doing two things at the same time. One is, responding to Joe's incredibly, brilliant Einstein-like answers, and Robert Russo asking what happened to my background. Well, I'm giving it a rest, but just for you, Robert, I brought the background back. Okay, so I was doing that at the same time. Now, let me focus all my attention on question 4, which is what August in Central Park from 2000 to 2020 set the all-time monthly rainfall of any month in the park, and what was the rainfall for that particular amount? And you can, and it's and that, by the way, you have a margin of 7 inches in that one.
You mean for the whole month?
Yes.
Monthly rainfall.
Right. The all-time record monthly rainfall for any month was set in August between 2000 and 2020. So what year was it, and how much rain are we talking about here?
Well, August is a wet month. August, I think, has something like 4.5 inches anyway for the on average
Right.
for the month. So this must have been something with a tropical system. Did Irene happen in August?
Oh,
Irene wasn't. Irene wasn't.
It is amazing the revelations that are coming out of you. Yes, Irene did happen in August. Keep going. Follow Irene. Keep going.
Well, we had right here with Irene. Renata put out like this jug, and it must have been like at least 12 inches high, and it overflowed, which tells me that at least here during Irene we had like over a foot of rain. So, and I remember incredible scenes from just that one storm of roadways that were flooded out. So, let's assume for Central Park for one day they had like maybe 10 inches or 12 inches, and then for the rest of the month they must have had maybe 4 or 5. I'm going to say something like 6. I'll say 16 inches.
Well,
16 inches of
18.95, and it was from Irene, and that was in 2011. By the way, just want to acknowledge Anthony Orr, who hit Super Chat tonight. Thank you, Anthony, and glad to see you on the chat board. Anthony suffered a loss in his family, and we express our condolences to you and your family with regards to the loss of your dad. Just wanted to mention that. I know you've been on Discord, and everybody's been, helping you along. So all a good thing here. We wish you well. All right, so the other question was, Joe, what was the main reason for the rainfall? And it was Hurricane Irene, which gave the park 7 inches. So it got 7 inches from Irene, and another 11. So yeah, 18.95, wettest month on record, and not just the wettest August.
Wow.
So
Wow.
on that note, I think it's time for us to say goodnight and enjoy the next 2 days off. And you and I will be back on Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern time.
Right. Keith James II or Keith James II asking, was Agnes in August? No, Agnes was in June
Yes.
of 1972. So,
Agnes.
yeah.
He's a beast. All men are beasts.
You can say it, but you can't write it. If
Right.
you're
You
on
can't
Facebook.
write it on Facebook because they'll put you in Facebook jail for it. Or,
Right.
show the honeymooners meme. I guess all these young kids don't have a sense of humor. Nobody has a sense of humor anymore. All right. But we do. We do. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for being here as always. Thanks all for those of you who did the super chat hits. If you wish to support this channel, you can also do it by shopping on Amazon. I put up the Amazon link up there on the chat board earlier today. It's pinned on. So if you're shopping at Amazon and you go through the Joe Stradamus link, Joe Stradamus throws me back a few stogies. You get your stuff. It doesn't cost you one extra dime, and everybody is happy. So thank you for those of you who shop on Amazon and use the Joe Stradamus Amazon link. Have a great evening, Mr. Rayo. We'll see you on Sunday. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern.